Let's call the sheriff meeting to order. Please call roll.
Mayor Querom.
Here.
Commissioner Warren.
Here.
Commissioner Mabry.
Here.
Commissioner Fabia.
Here.
Commissioner Newman.
Here. Please stand and join us in the pledge of allegiance. Now we got started tonight. I want to give 3 Princeton residents recognition. We have, our depot at the Amtrak station is, it's a gem here in the city. It is used a great deal. We have some 40,000 plus passengers use Amtrak every year, and they use our Amtrak station. And, it was built back in the early 1900s, and, over time, the building, requires maintenance. And maintenance was forgotten for a while. But this last year, we had 3 residents here that took time, coordinated, and repainted the entire interior of the depot, including the ceiling. And to get a chance to go up and take a look at it, it really freshened it up. They did every room. They did the bathrooms and the main as well. So it's really a great job. So I'd like Jan Millis, I'd like Dr. Barbara Slav Everett, Dr. Richard Everett to come up, and I have a certificate for you in the city's appreciation.
Council, we're giving you a brand new brush. We have other prizes we're going to talk about. Tonight we celebrate, tomorrow we're back to work.
Okay. Thank you.
No, we'll move on. Do we have any public comment? Just need your name, probably.
Well, you know what? Okay, I'm Colleen Siskel.
It's on.
I'm Colleen Siskel, and first I would like to apologize. I'm going to speak and then leave. This is extremely important to me, dear and near to my heart, of my granddaughter's receiving an award at high school, and I hope I'm not late. Okay, it's been brought to my attention that it has been suggested that we only fly one flag at milepost 56, except on special occasions. With that being said, I want to thank all of our military men and women for standing up and serving our country to protect our freedom, freedom that is not free. They serve 24/7, not as weather permits. If someone serves for a long period of time and they're retired, injured from service, many other circumstances, this person receives a pension well deserved. Some children lose a parent or parents in war. They should all, by all means, receive benefits. Point being, our government doesn't do it just when the weather permits. They do it year-round. They follow the monthly protocol, thank God, and our country, not during surplus. I totally understand the wear and tear on our flags, especially during the winter months. I don't understand one flag fine. Great. You receive your pension, and you get your medical benefits through the veterans, and I really think you deserve that. But we deserve to keep our flags up. And the city did talk with the Flags of Freedom, and they did agree to work with this. The finances has become different. I get that. I truly believe if we are a part-time American, we should be ashamed. Many people worked hard for this Flags of Freedom, and what a disgrace to our city of Princeton. My husband worked for the city for 30 years, and he was proud of the city of Princeton. He served in our government, and he died for the government. He had Agent Orange. And I want you to know you should be ashamed. Ashamed. If we're not proud of our city, it's time to move on. It's time to move on. Flags of Freedom was thought through, and they had an excellent team. And I would like you to think long and hard about this, because that is 4 flagpoles, and by golly, you do not want to see them up for sale. that's what I have to say. Thank you, and I hope you have a good evening, because right now, I am majorly stressed. Good night.
Thank you, Barbara. Any further public comments?
I can stand back here, I think you'll all hear me anyhow.
Please come up to the podium.
have it recorded. And we just need your name.
I'm getting old, I forgot it. I'm Dr. Foley from Princeton. I am not a Princeton resident. I live in the township of Princeton, but this July will mark 50 years since I started my practice of medicine. I only found out about this at about 4:30 tonight when I received a phone call. I was the master of ceremonies when the flags of freedom were put up here, when we had several thousand people attended at the time, and I served on the committee. So I did not get a great deal of time to hone my speech tonight, except to say I abhor the thought of what's going on here. Now, I heard by rumor, I don't know if it's true or not, Ray, that you were sort of behind this to alter the arrangements that we have for the flags, and I honor you for your service. I know you've been there, and I know you're a member of our Legion groups, plus the other veteran groups, and I wish you would have come to the American Legion and presented this first before you did this, and I would have even been your bodyguard that night. It's unspeakable that something happens in countries when they hit 200, 250 years. Almost all great societies, the Greeks, the Romans, the British, and now the Americans are at 250-some years, and due to moral decline, which I think you all agree we have in this country, and a lack of maintaining the leadership in the world, especially in the last number of years with ISIS, et cetera, that our values have become degraded. On another topic, years ago, you might have remembered the Chicago Tribune listed Princeton as the gem of the Midwest in which to live. When you taught my younger son to be an Eagle Scout, both sons are Eagle Scouts, you had the younger one, the Scoutmaster, you were in charge of inculcating those values in the young men. The older son is a retired fighter pilot in the Air Force for 25 years. So when you see the flags of Princeton and you come here, you have a class community. You have moral decline now, we have worldly decline, but when you look at the American flag in the world, this says something. And I don't know how many of you have traveled to different places. I've been to Egypt, Russia, Korea, Spain, England. When you see the news over there, it's completely different than what you see over here. But when that American flag goes up, you know what it is. And speaking for myself, past commander of the American Legion, we have the current one here, I don't want to see those things change. When we can't support flags, not only has the moral decline occurred, but your status in the world has declined, and we know it is at this point. I'm sure you all agree, just watch the news. Okay? So I would like to see you continue those. That was the original plan of the committee. I was on the committee that the city would finance the maintenance of the flags, the poles, et cetera, if we could raise the money to put those up. It was raised. We did our part. I expect the city to continue. It would be very, very sad that we not do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Boyle. Any more public comment? Just need your name.
Good afternoon. My name is Brad Oder. I am the current commander of the American Legion here. I got a call this afternoon as well, asking to come up to the meeting to find out, as a fact-finding thing, what changes are to be made to remove or reduce the number of flags flying. I am also the manager of bearing distributors here in Princeton. I have vendors come in periodically and ask me what the four flags represent. I'm proud to tell them what they're for. I would really love to see them stay. Work with us in the Legion, the AMVITS, and the VFW. Figure out a way to keep them up there. They represent Princeton, like Dr. Foley says, Princeton is the gem of the valley. Let's continue to keep the flags, do what's necessary, based on the agreement that was originally put in place with Dr. Foley. Thank you.
Any additional public comment? Just need your name.
My name is Vern Sungrath. I am presently the commander of the VFW and a past commander of the AMVETS, and also served on the Flags of Freedom Committee. And I know what we went through in earnest to get them up and put them up and what it took. It took a lot of hard work by a lot of people on the committee. And to say that we didn't consider things through, yes, we had the commitment from the city before we did it. We wouldn't have done it without it. And I feel that, you know, it we did our part, that the city should continue to do theirs. And the VFW in the past have purchased a set of flags for there. And there's a possibility of maybe we'll do it again. It's not that we don't stand behind it, but to just up and drop the ball on and say they're going to take the flags down, that's, to me, is shameful. So I think you have my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Vern. Any additional public comment? I think the reason this whole thing came up was because the flags were, you know, they were being put up and they were starting to tatter pretty early in their, you know, even a new flag, you get it up and it's starting to tatter. We didn't want to fly flags out of respect for the flag. We did not want to fly flags that were starting to, you know, tatter at the ends. And it happens very quickly, and it does cost a lot of money to repair these flags, and obviously it costs a lot more to replace them. However, you know, this was one solution that was brought up. Maybe we should fly one flag and then fly all four during the you know, patriotic holidays. So, however, since all this has transpired, I know that Chief Root, our street superintendent, and our city manager have had conversations. I know that Chief Root is going to get the Flags of Freedom Committee back together and work on a program to where fundraising can be established, and we can start to build a fund for these flags, so we can keep all four flags flying throughout the year. Because you know, I don't think there's anybody up here that disagrees with anything that was said here tonight, not in the slightest. So I think that we're on that path, and we will get this thing moving. We will get the fundraising done through the Flags of Freedom Committee. That I know there are members. I know Chief Root is checking to see if there's still interest in the current members, and if not, we'll get new members, and we'll move forward with the fundraising, and these flags will fly.
Can I make a quick comment there, please?
First, I want to thank you for coming tonight, and I know some of you were notified, it sounded like a late notice about this. What I'd like to clarify to you as veterans, and many fellow veterans here, is that when I became commissioner approximately 3 years ago, one of the things I did was I toured a number of buildings that the city owned. I toured a building that the second week I was commissioner, that I saw where the flags of freedom were being stored after they were tattered and torn. It was quite embarrassing. They were actually on the ground. They probably started on pallets, but they actually ended up being on the ground. And at the time, I was so embarrassed by it, I asked every commissioner to come take a look at it, and I asked some citizens to look at it. Now, we got that resolved, but those flags, when they were done being flown, instead of being respectfully put into a container ready for burning, were put in a building, discarded. And I know Commissioner Newman at the time was a citizen. He saw that, and Commissioner Quirin was there, and he saw it, and Commissioner Warren came out to see it. We were all very embarrassed by these flags. And again, we didn't stage it. They were wadded up, and they were laying on the ground, and there was actually people, you could see footprints where people had walked over the flags. Now, that was very heart-wrenching, because we, as veterans, and I think that we're not here to judge my patriotism tonight, I hope that's not the case. But I would say this, that was 3 years ago. And as I watched that got resolved, I can tell you right now, we can go out to a building right now, and there's flags wadded up. Now, they're in a wooden box, but they're wadded up, sitting there back in the corner of this building, sitting there, that were flown at one time respectfully, but now they're wadded up, sitting in a box. Thank goodness they're not on the ground. But I think I have seen the whole picture where we have to make sure we dispose of these flags properly, but also the flags, if we were in a combat role, we would keep that flag flying as long as we could till the last man was alive, and it could be shredded down to the threads. We understand that. But when we go back into cantonment, so to speak, we go back into the wire, or inside the wire, we're back in the camp, the flags need to be flown respectfully, and that means crisp and clean and clear and not frayed and torn. So this spring I watched 40 flags that basically within 6 weeks with wet weather and with wind, they became torn and tattered, and it seems like the top starts to tatter, and then the next ribbon and the next ribbon, so the stripes start to go. I propose, so I will take ownership of this, that we fly one flag all the time, crisp and clean and good looking. And a week before a major holiday, we fly the other three. And then when it's convenient, we drop the other three back down, but always keep one flag flying, because 4 flags out there, I've seen at times where the 4 flags are just so tattered and torn, it's embarrassing. And last year, before a major holiday, I'd asked the city, I said, do we have 4 fresh flags? Because I think it was coming up on Memorial Day, or was it Veterans Day? Veterans Day. And we did not have 4 fresh flags to fly at that time because of the budget. I mean, it's $6,000 to buy 4 new flags. Or to keep the old ones sewn, it costs so much, you have to have extra. So, any of you veterans tomorrow morning, I know I feel like I was challenged. If you want to meet with me, I'll take you out to the building where the flags are being stored. It's embarrassing. But we've come a long ways, but they're not on the ground. They're in a cardboard, they're in a wood box sitting there. And I know, Vern, you're pointing your finger, but I would like to finish this. So I don't think anybody's here judging each other's patriotism. I hope that's not the case, because I'm still serving. Next weekend, I'll be putting my uniform on, and I'll be serving at Fort McCoy, Wisconsin for the weekend. I hope that's not the case. And 1 fresh flag flying versus 4 fresh flags flying, I question if you're saying that we're not as patriotic having 1 flag versus 4. So my goal was to come up with a way that we could have 1 flying crisp and clear at all times and clean and looking sharp versus 4 that, as of a week ago, when those 4 came down, they were already tattered and torn. And the question I asked to Rachel was, Rachel, Memorial Day is coming up. Do we have 4 fresh flags to replace for Memorial Day? And not putting Rachel on the spot, but we had no replacement flags. And we have nothing in the budget for them this year. So I'd rather see 1 crisp one fly. If the original committee wants to go back and raise the funds and assure us that we have 4 fresh flags looking good all the time, but the minute they are starting to tatter and tear, we need to be getting those down, because it's a very disrespectful way. Especially, like I said, we're back in Potomac, we're back inside the wire, that there should be no reason those flags don't look sharp. So, again, I don't question your patriotism that are here tonight, and I hope that you don't question mine. So, I think we all have one goal, and we understand that. The flags need to look sharp when they fly, and they need to respect our country and our community and the pride that we have. So, that was my only, there was no lack of patriotism by me suggesting we only fly 1 flag. So, and if that was construed in any way, I apologize, but that was not the intent.
And I will mention that we have ordered 4 new flags. They are on their way, and we hope to have them by Memorial Day. So, Vern?
Ray called me last year when he found out about those flags, and I personally went and picked them up and took care of them. All I need is a phone call from the city. That's all it takes, is a phone call. And when I picked them up, I picked up a 8x12 trailer, heaped up with flags, and took care of it. So all that takes is a phone call. Thank you.
Mark Foley.
The original agreements when the Flags of Freedom Committee started this would be, we would raise the money, fund pretty much everything to get those poles up, the flags up, with the understanding that the city would then go ahead and take over. Now, I have no problems with the committee being reactivated. This is my personal opinion, because I'd be glad to serve on it again if I can remember it. Anyway, I have no problem with the committee being reactivated. New members would be really, really, really nice to have. But if we don't raise a significant amount of money, I would personally want to hold the city of Princeton to their agreement, where they would take care of the rest of it. As far as Ray is concerned, he was an awesome, by the way, scoutmaster. I'm very proud of both of my boys, and they still have their Eagle pins. And by the way, fighter pilots, 50% of them are Eagle Scouts. I don't know if you know that, okay? So I would personally, even though I will donate to the committee, would like to see the city back up whatever we can.
I don't know if any of us, all of us were on the council when the agreement was made, and I was unaware of the agreement that the city had with the Flag Committee, Flag Supreme Committee. If the city made an agreement with the committee that we would take care of those flags, obviously we want to maintain that agreement.
That is my understanding.
Mine too.
Okay, my name is Brad Oder. Just want to clarify something. Out at the American Legion building on West Peru Street, we have a burn barrel inside the vestibule. Anytime you have an American flag that you take down and you want to dispose of it, feel free to dump it in there. That's exactly what Vern did. He picked them up at a burn ceremony periodically when they get enough flags to do that. So anytime you have personal flags, bring them out there. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad. Yeah, I have to express some surprise because prior to when we found all these flags, I think we were all under the impression that was being done. And apparently obviously it was not. So that's something that the city from this day forward will be ensure that gets taken care of. Any other public comments? Any other discussion here? We'll move on to our regular business. We'll go to Commissioner Newman for the approval minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the minutes from the regular council meeting of Monday, May 2nd, 2016 be approved as written.
Second.
Motion's been seconded. Any corrections? Call roll.
Commissioner Warren.
Aye.
Commissioner Mabry.
Aye.
Commissioner Fabia.
Aye.
Commissioner Newman.
Aye.
Mayor Querem.
Aye. Now we'll go to approval of invoices, and we'll start again with Commissioner Newman.
Thank you, Mayor. I have the invoices for public affairs to the Department of Accounts and Finances. Planning Department, $6,867.39. Administration is $56,881.47. Self-insurance, $165,472.99. Tourism, $5,487.89. Property Department, $2,130.99. Community Development of $190, for a grand total for the Department of Public Affairs and Accounts and Finances of $237,030.73. Mayor, I've reviewed these bills. I find them to be true and accurate and move that they be paid.
Second.
Motion's been seconded. Any comments or corrections? Call roll.
Commissioner Warren.
I'm going to pass on the $15 A&M products, aye on the rest.
Commissioner Mabry.
Yes.
Commissioner Fabia.
Yes.
Commissioner Newman.
Yes.
Mayor Querem.
Aye. Now we'll go to Commissioner Avery.
Thank you, Mayor Quern. This evening I have the bills and payrolls for the Department of Streets and Public Improvements as follows. In the Street Department, a total of $20,080.68. Wastewater collection, $48,712.76. The Cemetery Department, $8,064.32. Garbage expenditures of $14,171.25. For a grand total of $91,029.01. Mayor Quern, I've examined the bills and payrolls, find them to be true and correct, and request payment be made.
Second. Motion's been seconded. Any comments or corrections? Call roll.
Commissioner Warren.
Aye.
Commissioner Mabry.
Aye.
Commissioner Fabia.
Aye.
Commissioner Newman.
Aye.
Mayor Querem.
Aye. And now we'll go to Commissioner Bacon.
Thank you, Mayor. I have the bills for public health, safety, civic defense. For the police department, I have $116,262.21. For fire ambulance, I have $92,662.31, for a total of $208,924.52. I've read these bills. I believe them to be true and accurate, and I move they be paid.
Second. Motion's been seconded. Any comments or corrections? Call roll.
Commissioner Warren.
Aye.
Commissioner Mabry.
Aye.
Commissioner Fabia.
Aye.
Commissioner Newman.
Aye.
Mayor Querem.
Aye. Now we'll go to Commissioner Warren.
Thank you. Tonight I got the bills and payroll for Department of Public Property Utilities. Electric generation of $478,089.26. Electric distribution of $26,121.13. Electric administration of $16,652.42. Water treatment of $29,379.61.
water distribution of $1,878.32, and water administration of $2,903.88, which brings the grand total of $555,025.62. We examine these bills and believe them to be true and correct and move that they be paid.
I'll second that.
Motion's been seconded. Any comments or corrections? Call roll.
Commissioner Warren.
Aye.
Commissioner Mabry.
Aye.
Commissioner Fabia.
Aye.
Commissioner Newman.
Aye.
Mayor Querem.
Aye, thank you, Commissioners. Now we'll go to Commissioner Newman.
Tonight, I have a recommendation from the multifamily design review at 777 South Main Street. The petitioner requests approval to redevelop an existing 4-unit business condominium building to a 3-unit residential condominium with 1 unit remaining as business use. The proposed use would also add a 3-car garage on the east side of the property. Having reviewed the elements of the petition, the Plan Commission, the Board of Zoning Appeals recommends that the City Council deny this petition. And I move that we deny this petition.
Motion's been seconded. Any comments? Gary?
Can we comment about this?
Yeah, go ahead, and just need your names.
I'm Janet Moreland.
I'm Jerry Moreland.
We're here because we'd like to build a garage behind the building at 777 South Main. According to Princeton zoning ordinances, the property is zoned B3. B3 zoning is considered transitional, permitting business, single-family dwellings, and multiple single-family dwellings. We have come seeking your approval of this project. We would really like your support. Before you say no, please consider, number 1, you want to show them the pictures? There's been very little, if any, maintenance done inside or outside of the building since it was built over 60 years ago. All 3 of the units were empty when Gary stopped by the auction. There were no other bidders present. He gave the auctioneer a bid and ended up buying the building.
Let me just clarify, this is the old castle building
Yes.
up on South Main Street. Okay.
He put out the word that space was available. He has had absolutely no interest in office space in the last 18 months. The only inquiry he had was from Freedom House looking for a space close to downtown for apartments for their clients. A local realtor recently was very excited about what he was doing in that he was planning to do residential condos. She brought a retired couple who would have purchased the one he's been working on the spot, but it had a garage. Many young professionals moving into Princeton cannot afford to buy and rent both a house and an office. And the growing trend all over the country is for young professionals to work out of their homes with computers. There are a number of office spaces in Princeton that are not rented and there's been no interest in them for some time. We have a couple others ourselves that Gary's had no interest in the last year. Another growing trend is for young professionals and retired couples who want to live close within walking or biking distance from downtown and all of its amenities. This is also good for downtown areas too, as they frequent shops, eateries, and theaters and raise the sales taxes collected. We plan to repair the exterior, replace the windows with new thermal panelings, install 3 more windows on the north and south side, and replace the deteriorated shakes with architectural 50-year shingles. We will reframe the walls below the windows on the east and west sides, insulate, and hang new sidings. Inside, we plan to create high-end condos with 2 bedrooms, an open concept living area, a kitchen with an island hard surface counters and stainless steel appliances. The bathrooms will have tile floors, a vanity with hard surface top, and a tub shower or a shower. Much of the dark old wood that makes the place look like a cave will be replaced and repurposed in some other place. We'll replace it with drywall. We've already replaced the old furnaces with high-efficiency new ones. And Gary repaired a drafty vent that warmed up the whole building. These will be two-bedroom condos. The zoning board was concerned that there would be a lot of kids running around. There will probably be young professionals or retired people living here. And I can't see where there will be more than 6 to 9 people at most residing in the building. Contingent upon your decision, we will proceed with plans we've made with the bank next door to buy the property on the south side of the building and the drive on the east, which will put the garage well within our property line. Another thing you might consider is the fact that now this property is only generating a little over $300 for each unit each year in property taxes. If we redo each of these units as a condo, a conservative estimate for what they might sell for is $75,000. With a garage, they could easily bring over $100,000. That would mean the property taxes on each unit would be at least tripled and probably quadrupled. We have no desire to waste our time remodeling office condos that are unmarketable. Without your support, we'll probably cut our losses, put these units back on the market, let them stand as they are, and let time continue its remodeling. A quick review. The building is an eyesore. It's empty and bringing in very little tax revenue. Renovating it will make the south end of Princeton much more attractive. It will bring in 3 to 4 times the tax revenue. It will provide quality housing for young professionals and retired people and bring more business to the downtown area, generating more sales tax. Do you really want to lose these possibilities for the lack of a garage?
Can I ask, this is a what, a split level? What is this?
It's a two-story.
2 stories, you go down, there's,
Yep, 7 steps down, 7 steps up.
and your plan is to have units both downstairs and upstairs.
The 2 units up, yes, and 1 unit to the east downstairs. Let Randy Kemba still have his office on the front.
Do we know, I know that the planning commission has that we should deny this petition, but they don't give any specific reasonings. Do we know what those reasonings would be?
The reasoning was since they think it should be residential, it should be zoned as a residential property rather than a B3.
Well, I did sit in on that zoning meeting, and I can take this from my memory, which is not too good sometimes. In order to have that residential, that's a high-impact business area, number one. That was one of the biggest concern. The other concern was the garage, which is, by code, has to be there. Yes, it does. If you have 4 units, you gotta have a 4-position car.
I have 4 units now.
And they were concerned that there's not enough room to put a garage on the east and get cars in and out of there, even if you were to secure that little strip of land coming off there. But their major concern was, if this is a high-impact business area, the property to the north had objections to that. They felt that this was not appropriate to have a mixed business condo versus residential condo.
As in an answer to the garage one, there is already a garage backing up directly to the back of the parking lot there. And obviously, they have enough room to get in and out of it in that drive.
Is this a situation where they could have units upstairs? Not only business downstairs, but living space upstairs?
It would be if it was business, yeah, if that's business downstairs, residential upstairs.
All business downstairs and
Yes.
residential upstairs.
Pete, I know Brian gets not your side, of course, right? Okay, so, trying to work with your experience you've had in zoning, my understanding was that typically they don't like residential units on the main level because of curtains and TVs going on and trying to have businesses and residents going. So if he would revise this and just have the 2 residences on the second level and keep an office on the lower level, or main level, as he calls it, that might be something that you could go back to planning commission if that would fly.
Well, in all honesty, I think the B3 district allows for residential uses on the second floor. So if you deny this, all you're really denying is the residential use on the ground floor. But I think one of the things the planning commission had an objection to too was that, I mean, you have a likelihood that you're going to bring that building back to life, which is admirable for sure. But a lot of the figures that you state are really just guesses. There's no real reason why you should expect to get $100,000 for those units.
When this couple came and looked at it, and it's the one unit he's been working on upstairs, he asked them $150, and they would have paid that had it had a garage.
Well, we don't know that, but
Well, they said they would have.
well, okay, you got one customer that would do that, I guess. So the other thing that the planning commission had an issue with is that it was just too intense a use because the property would be occupied 24 hours instead of just 8 hours during a typical business day. And I think they felt a little concerned about what the property would look like with that intensive type of use. And I attended that meeting, and I appeared as a private citizen objecting to it because, you know, one day they occupy the property, the next day they want a barbecue grill out in the parking lot, the next day they want patio chairs and cabana out in the parking lot, in a pretty professional area of town. So, and I think there was also an objection about the size of the garage you could actually have back there. If you had a large-sized truck, a tenant that had a large-sized truck, you don't have enough room to build a garage to accommodate that truck. So it seemed like there was a lot of loose ends, but to answer your question, Ray, if you deny this, they still likely would have the ability to do 2 apartments in the upstairs.
Thank you, I'd like to clarify that. And that, for my input, that's what I would be leaning towards, is that if they felt that the market would support, that's their business, if they can sell a $100,000 condominium, but I would not want the lower level used for residents. I think that's going against what we've done for a lot of people on Main Street that wanted to try to do a residence on the lower level that were denied because we stayed with that fact that we really didn't want to look at a TV set going or the curtains up on Main Street in a business district area. So I will be voting to deny this, but it's with the idea that, you know, as it's worded now, I would not be in favor of residences on that lower level.
So would these folks have to go back to the planning commission and just resubmit as a 2-unit second floor only, or no?
They would have to.
I don't believe they would have to, no.
It's already in this code that they have residents in the upper floor.
And when I first heard the project and all, you know, I thought it was a good idea because that building is, you know, it needs to be rehabbed. I mean, it would be great to see that building come back to life. I would have to agree, though, that having a unit on the bottom floor is not something we would want to go with. Upstairs, fine. I mean, because you'd be able to do that, but it's the lower unit is, I would fall in line with what you've heard.
One little comment about Randy's unit. Have you ever seen the windows on his?
Yeah.
Is that appealing? Do I press my case?
Yeah, but you're not going to do anything with Randy's unit because he owns that unit.
That's true. But I mean, someday it will be changed, or hopefully. I think curtains are more appealing than all those books.
Well, at this point, any further discussion? Okay, let's go ahead and call roll.
Do we have a second?
Oh, we have a second.
Yeah, we did. We have a second. Yeah. So the motion on the floor is to deny. Correct. Or to agree with the planning commission. Correct.
I means deny.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Mabry?
Aye.
Commissioner Fabia?
Aye.
Commissioner Newman?
Aye.
Mayor Querem?
Aye.
Next item is Resolution R-16-002, adopting a purchasing manual for the city of Princeton. The objective of this manual is to guide city staff in the purchasing of goods and services while abiding by both state laws and local ordinances that govern the city of Princeton. The goal is to obtain quality goods and services at the lowest possible price. The procedures contained in this manual will assist the city manager and department heads in procuring necessary goods and materials in a manner that is consistent with the highest standards of public service. I think this is a great idea. I think it's something we should move forward with, and I move that we approve this resolution.
Second.
Motion's been second. Comments? One of the things I'd like to point out that this will do for us, in the past, we would pass the budget, each department would pass the budget, they would know what their budget is as far as what they could, the money that they would have to spend. And then basically the discretionary spending was up to the department head based on the budget that they were going under. This new purchasing manual will now require that department heads will have discretionary spending of under $2,000. From $2,001 to $10,000, the department head and the city manager will have to be in on whether or not the purchase will be made. And anything over $10,000 will be the department head, the city manager, and it will come to the city council for approval, regardless of what the budget is. So it's really going to tighten the controls on the spending in the city. So it's a very good point.
I do have a question here. It's on page 5, down section 2, purchasing policies. Says, it shall be a breach of ethical standards for any employee or elected officials to participate directly or indirectly in purchases. I guess I'm not quite sure what that means. So if I own a lumber yard, I can't bid on city business, is that what that means?
No, I think it's just, and it goes into detail there, if you have a direct relationship with someone or you own it, or if it's someone city-related that's in a relationship where, they have to exclude themselves from that approval process.
All elected officials have to fill out that, I call it the yellow sheet.
Right.
Economic interest, which would disclose at that time if you have any economic interest in anything.
This kind of mirrors that. It's written in our own city policy. Does that answer your question?
It also says they have to disclose it immediately. Well, we already have by filling out that yellow form, we've
So you're
disclosed that.
covered.
Okay, that's all I have.
Any further discussion? Okay, this is a resolution, so this is the only vote that we'll take on, so call roll.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Mabry?
Aye.
Commissioner Fabia?
Aye.
Commissioner Newman?
Aye.
Mayor Querem?
Aye.
This is ordinance O-16-007. We're amending the Princeton City Code, Chapter 9, under offenses and miscellaneous provisions, Article 4 under nuisances. A comment from Brian Gift, our Director of Planning, to the Mayor and City Council reads as follows. Recently, it's come to our attention there are several properties in the communities where indoor furniture is being stored, used outside on porches and yards. The Planning Department and Police Department have received several complaints about this issue. Not only is the outdoor use of indoor furniture generally considered an eyesore, it is also considered a nuisance due to rodent harborage and being a fire hazard. I move that we approve the ordinance that should read as follows. It will be declared a nuisance to use, keep, or store any upholstered furniture, including mattresses, manufactured primarily for indoor use in any yard and/or unenclosed porch. I move that we approve the first reading of this ordinance.
Second.
Motion's been second. Any comments?
I just have one comment. Who's going to make the determination whether or not this is indoor or outdoor furniture?
Brian, you go.
I think like a sofa or a recliner, those kind of visible items will be obvious.
And some are obvious, and some may not be so obvious, though.
You have a park lounge on your front porch.
I do not. I'm just curious as to, I'm not so sure I can make a determination. Some of the patio furniture looks very nice. You think, why what they're doing outside, when in fact it is patio furniture. So that's not bundling.
Yeah, and it's just gonna have to be a good judgment on the part of whoever's out there, whether it be police or someone from the city.
Yeah, if it's an old Barca lounger, yeah.
I think it'll be on a case-by-case basis, but a lot of outdoor furniture is made of outdoor material that is repellent to water and so on, so I think won't be too difficult. Any further comment? Call roll.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Mabry?
Aye.
Commissioner Fabia?
Aye.
Commissioner Newman?
Aye.
Mayor Querem?
Aye.
I have another authorization to enter into a retainer agreement with landscape architect Scott Mahaffey. A strategic goal of this retainer agreement is to enhance the overall image and perception of the community. Mr. Mahaffey would like to help the city develop and implement a Main Street revitalization and open space improvement program. The financial impact to the city to retain Mr. Mahaffey is an amount not to exceed $4,080. I think the city has an opportunity to use the services of a well-known and respected landscape architect to help us out with the planning and implementation of our parks here in Princeton. And I move that we approve the retainer agreement with Mr. Mahaffey.
Second.
Motion's been second. Comments?
Yes, I have a comment. I've got a lot of comments tonight. I have nothing against Mr. Mahaffey. I wouldn't know if he walked up here and introduced himself. I do have a problem with the scope. This is originally supposed to be a Darris Miller Park renovation. Now we're talking about a Main Street revitalization and open space. We already have that on the books as our streetscape program that we had to discontinue for lack of funds. I can't see us entering into another agreement in expanding that scope. We need to stick with the Darris Miller. I mean, that's what we started with, and that's where we should be.
This, I'll just make a comment, and that's true. You know, Darris Miller Park was the original, to me, at this point, stepping off point as to what we can see as the future, in my opinion, in improving Princeton, not changing it, but improving. And Commissioner Warren mentioned the plan that was, this is actually what I think you're referring to, the March 2003 comprehensive. This is actually an update from one that was done back in the 90s. And I think there might have been one since, there was one done last year. That was an update to this one. Yeah. You know, this manual here, and there was also one that was done by, I think, Dyke and Associates, I think. That was the original. That was the one back in the 90s. You know, the city commissioned them, and this is one's done by Tesca and Associates of Chicago. But they came here, and, the city spent a lot of money for these two reports, the one in the 90s and this one here. And this is a very comprehensive plan update from the one in 1990. There's a lot of very good information in here, some very good ideas. And, the city, we did some work, I believe, that came out of this, would have been the period light poles, I think, up at the north end with some trash receptacles, some benches, and sidewalk extensions. But the city, took out debt to pay for that, and to pay, I think, probably partially for this as well, if not the entire thing. But and we're still paying that debt from that project. And basically, when this was done, other than the little work that was done, this was basically shelved. And it's been shelved ever since, and it's been shelved for various reasons, but one of them is funding. This was paid for with public taxpayer dollars. What we're proposing at this point going forward, what Scott Mahaffey is proposing, and is expanding this to go from the Interstate 80 corridor all the way through all the way through Soldiers and Sailors Park, also encompassing Darris Miller Park, the railroad depot as well, and the entire campus. And by utilizing and doing this with private sector dollars, not Princeton taxpayer dollars. We have a list of just an incredible amount of grants, foundations that we can write grants for. We're also talking about doing fundraising, independent fundraising. And we've also talked about, we have a Princeton Community Foundation that has been sitting dormant for several long time. There is a board, there is no cash balance in it. We want to get that community foundation going again as well for private donations, with the tax advantages to the people donating funds. And again, do this with private sector dollars. And the most important thing of all is embarking on this project involving the community, involving as many community members as we can that have interest in what we're doing, or what we want to do, or what I want to do, and what Scott Mahaffey wants to do, and really improving what we have by a great deal. And this is a great opportunity to do so, again, with community involvement and private sector dollars. So,
I don't disagree with what you're saying, but we do have a streetscape plan in place that we've already, like you said, gone in depth over. It would make much more sense to take that plan and use it rather than to reinvent the wheel here.
And a lot of that, again, it's in here, but they're taking this. They're putting this to action.
Well, the streetscape plan is entirely separate from the comprehensive plan.
They're taking that as well. They're taking everything that we have spent money on, everything that we have put together. They've got all that information, and they're now going to take that information, they'll add, they'll subtract, and some of it's dated by this time, and they'll move forward, but they're going to take all this information, and he actually wants to put an action plan into place, and again, with private sector dollars and community involvement.
That's all well and good, but again, we're getting off the scope of the project. The scope of the project was the renovation of Delrish Miller Park. That's what the scope should be. That's what it was, that's what it should be.
If I could, Mayor, I know that I did not attend any of the Darris Miller Park Committee meetings. I know there's a lot of good public involvement in that, and I see some of those members in the audience. Are they going to have an opportunity to speak briefly about this?
Well, I saw Ann raise her hand, she'd like to speak, I don't, that's fine.
Hi, I'm Ann Crosby. I didn't prepare anything for this. Commissioner Warren, I'm really surprised at your response to this. I've served on many committees through the town as a volunteer. I volunteered for tourism and actually wrote myself as a volunteer a sizable grant for tourism. You have an opportunity here with someone who has so many contacts for money from the private sector to help fund some of the committees that I've served on, which is the Streetscape Committee, which stopped. And I think the South End could really benefit from some funding so we can get the streetscape in some fashion done on the South End. And if we can have private sector funds to do that, why not? Yes, it started out as Darius Miller Park project, but as the committee looked at it, and I can't speak for the whole committee because I'm not the leader of the committee, but as we got to doing designs and things, it kind of became evident that this was a small, short-sighted project that was maybe just throwing more money in just one section, but without the whole campus of the Amtrak area being done with paving, possibly paving the parking lot on the corner of Main and Elm, fixing that whole area. It was just a spot fix. And it seemed almost ridiculous to spend that money without a full budget to do a grand, complete project. It wasn't a heavily funded project. So with taking down trees and putting up trees, basically it was a couple of benches, maybe, was what the funds were. But there wasn't enough to pave the parking lot and fix the brick streets around the Amtrak station. So as the committee looked at this, and what the city did on its own by taking down the structure that was there, and also taking out the fountain, grading down the park and seeding it, it almost appeared as if the trees that were there, the risk of cutting them down seemed to cause a lot of problems in the community with a lot of people. There was a lot of dissension on that. This opportunity just fell into the committee's lap just by chance. And with what Mr. McCaffey has offered, it just seems to be a no-brainer. I mean, I can't imagine that you would not take his services to help find private funding to continue the projects that we cannot fund, that have been done, that the city has spent money on, and just broaden the scope of it outside of just Darius Miller to a whole Main Street project, that not reinventing the wheel, building on what you've already paid for, but trying to find funds for it. That's what I've seen has been the problem, is that these great ideas come about, but there's no funding ever considered. And as years go on, the funding gets lost and the project doesn't get done. And as a volunteer, who's volunteered a lot of times for the city, I'd like to see something get done. And it's been a long time since something on Main Street has gotten done. And I think the south end would benefit as well, as what little work was done on the north end from what the scope of the project was. And when it came time to pay for it, that project was greatly downsized, a lot. So that's my feelings on it. And I'm very passionate about being a volunteer, but it takes something for funding. And I've invested in this town. I've restored 2 buildings. I live on Main Street. I try to be a good neighbor and a good business owner and a good volunteer. But I can't write any more grants. I was surprised that I wrote the one that I did and that we got it. But I'm not a grant writer. So if you're a grant writer, feel free and write some grants. I think Mr. McCaffrey brings a lot of contacts for funding, and it should be, it's a small price to pay for what the return on investment could be.
And again, I don't have any objections with Mr. Mahaffey. Like I say, I don't know the person. He may be the best grant writer in the world. But believe me, I've been around this block before. When Dyke and Associates presented the streetscape plan, they too promised we could get grants. So where that wound up, nothing. So again, we're getting off track. It is Darris Miller Park renovation. That's what we should be talking about. Not Main Street renovation, not South End renovation. It's a Darris Miller Park renovation. I'm sorry that you feel differently, but that's what the scope of the project was. And all too often, these committees go off on tangents, and then now we've got a project that's just going to cost millions of dollars instead of $80,000 that was budgeted for this project.
To the city?
You think we're going to get grants for everything? It's not going to cost the city a nickel.
I didn't say that, but why would you not? Have you approached and looked at the grants that he's listed on here before?
I haven't seen any money come forward yet from any grants.
When I was on the Streetscape Committee, I didn't see any grants that were being written or read.
That's right, because there wasn't any out there.
But who did that?
Dyke and Associates promised us there were grants available for our streetscape project. They did not deliver. Now, why am I to believe that Mr. Mahaffey can deliver when they couldn't?
Did you see any work that they did on that, on getting grants?
No.
Then how do you know that they did it?
We don't have the money to finish the project.
But did you see any applications? I mean, surely you would have been involved in an application for your own streetscape with an outside vendor.
There may be some here at City Hall I'm not
Well,
aware
that
of.
would, yeah, I mean, that would be the thing to say if you're going to say that they did apply for grants and didn't get them. There's a proof.
Can I ask Mayor, and thank you for speaking, but I don't want to assume anything. Were you speaking on behalf of the?
Speaking on behalf of myself as a volunteer.
And could I ask, Mayor, is there anyone else from Darris Miller Committee that would like to speak? Because I'm trying to get a sense of if they all are in agreement with this, that Mr. Dyke would be a good investment for our tax dollars.
What's your name?
McCaffrey.
Mike Salem. I was on the first Darris Miller Park Committee, and I know Commissioner Warren said that, it's all about Darris Miller Park. Well, that committee kind of encompassed trying to get Amtrak involved also. And so when I started on this one, I too wanted to try to get the Amtrak station involved in this, and I was told that it should be Darris Miller Park. So you know what? I concentrated on Darris Miller Park. I agree with you. I was on that committee. I had no intentions whatsoever to think about Main Street as a whole until Mr. McCaffrey kind of gave a presentation. And you know what? It really got me thinking, really, Darris Miller Park is about the size of this paper, It's nothing. And we're getting an opportunity to deal with somebody who's got a bunch of ideas. And I agree, you paid for it one time with my money, thank you, and it went nowhere. And you just told me that there was no proof that that went nowhere. And, I think the small amount of money that this is going to cost us, I think it's a great avenue to at least look at. He showed us 14 avenues for some type of funding. Fike and Fike, or whoever you had to deal with, Dyke and Dyke, whatever their names were, they provided you with zero. $4,000. you know? I think it's definitely worth looking into. Main Street as a whole is horrendous. Horrendous. We have horrible trees. Our parks look just terrible. And here's somebody that's willing to donate half of his time and money for Princeton, a Princeton native. I have a family here. I want them to grow up. I want it to be the old Princeton. When Main Street was booming, Friday nights, you couldn't find a parking spot up on Main Street. You know why? Because there was pride in Main Street. It's so dilapidated now that, I mean, we have trees that shouldn't be there, that are overgrown, in the power lines. And I just think that going down this avenue and letting him at least just take a look to see what we have, and take that manual that obviously nobody has done with, and, you know, put it in the men's room, or do whatever you want with it, because obviously we're not using it for anything. For anything. I've not seen progress on Main Street in a long time. So I'm not sure what we paid for, but we got hosed that first time. Again, $4,000. I mean, that's a drop in the bucket, just at least look a simple, just a totally different direction and see what we come up with. You're right, there is no money sitting out there right now. I mean, he's not going to put time and effort into it until, you know, he gets paid, just like any one of us would do. But we still have to at least look at it and figure out where we need to go. Darius Miller Park, I love the idea. It's on the north end. You're right, we started with Darius Miller Park. But I don't think it's fair to the south end people. We have catered to the north end people way too much here lately. And you know what? I think that it needs to be a merger between the two. There doesn't need to be a north and south end district. There needs to be a city of Princeton. Not a north and south end, not a middle, but I think this project could encompass everybody as a whole, as a city, instead of one end or the other. I would really like to at least look at his option for $4,000. I mean, that's, again, a drop in the bucket. Thank you.
Anybody else from the committee?
Has anyone from the committee explored these grants, see if we qualify for these or not? As you read through these, I can tell you right now, we don't qualify for a lot of them.
They were just presented to us. I just got the email today.
So you just took his word for it that these are the grants that are available that we could get?
About like you guys did. Yep.
Just this morning, just at this meeting is the first time we've seen it. That letter was to you, to the city council. So you've had as much time, you've had more time with it than us.
Gloria.
I have just a few questions. Number 3 on the back of the agreement here. Services covered by this agreement do not include design, drawing, specification, bidding, permitting, or construction administration. So the $4,000 basically is grant writing. You know, number 3, he's basically stating he's not going to do anything.
I think what he's offering is 96 hours of his services at $42.50 an hour, and with that, he will lead and direct and suggest and guide us to take the next steps. And those next steps may cost money, talking about permits and other things.
This is the 12-week, his $4,000 that he is asking for covers the page 2 and 3, the 12-week phase.
Okay, now, second question. He's talking about a whole community involvement somewhere.
So I said that. I mean, the community.
Well, no, it's
involvement.
in here also,
Is it in there?
somewhere.
That's right.
Now, would we dissolve the Darius Miller Park and involve the whole committee? Would, Mr. Mahaffey report to the Darius Miller Park, who would report to the city council? What would be the protocol here?
Scott's plan was that there would be a steering committee, so my understanding would be that the Darius Miller Park Committee would be dissolved, and there would be a steering committee of 5 to 8 people that would kind of lead this. And he would put together this community vision workshop where there'd be like 60 or 70 residents or business owners that would attend that and then kind of map out, the progress from there.
Haven't many of the Darius Miller Park committee members volunteered to be on this steering committee? So
I believe that most
won't it,
of
in
the-
essence, be the continuation of the Darius Miller Park?
And then some. You don't want it too big. So, right, just 6 or 7.
Also, on a lot of these grants, many, I shouldn't say a lot, many, it's a match grant. That scares me. We do not have the money to match funds.
Most of the grants, I believe, are in kind, so, it could include, city labor, city equipment, or could involve, having businesses maybe provide, dinners when the committee members meet and so on. I mean, there's a lot of different, ways that the matches work, as opposed to being a monetary match. Now, that's not to say that they're all like that, but I think the majority of them are.
I just want to state that I have been to several of Darius Park Miller's committee meetings. I liked several of the plans. I thought many of them were very, very well thought out, very well done. I don't know why we cannot stick to the Darius Miller Park Committee and let them do the job that was given to them.
Well, the scope of Darius Miller obviously was, along the lines of tourism, bringing tourists to town, and by expanding and growing this project from the Interstate 80 corridor down to Soldiers and Sailors, and improving the entire length of Main Street, including Darius Miller Park and the Amtrak and that entire campus area, it's all geared towards bringing more people to Princeton. You bring more people to Princeton, tourism obviously creates and sustains jobs. It also, when businesses and industry are looking to communities, they want to come into a town and they want to like what they see. Princeton is a great community. It looks great right now, but there is so much more improvement that can be done up and down Main Street. And, like Mike mentioned, I think it behooves us to invest this $4,080 or whatever it is, and let's go through this planning process and see what comes out of it. At the very least, you get through week 12, and if it all falls apart because the community is not involved or they aren't interested or whatever, we're only out $4,000. We go back to Darius Miller as it sits now. But I think with Scott Mahaffey has been the amount of emails that I have received from him, he is totally invested in this idea. He is totally invested in what he wants to bring to Princeton and what he wants to lead the charge on it. And he's got contacts, he's well known. I just think it would be a huge mistake for us to turn our back on this opportunity.
Can I ask one more question? Can I ask something? No.
Ann Crosby again. What was our budget for Darius Miller Park?
What we were earmarking was $40,000.
Okay.
And that was for this fiscal year. And if need be, if the council approves, it'd be $40,000 next year, depending on what plans come up.
So, Mr. Warren, if we kept the Darius Miller project, deducted $4,000, which could possibly be a tree, a bench, and also got Scott McCaffey in the deal to help with the remaining part of the town in a bigger picture than just Darius Miller, would that satisfy you?
Run that line again? No, it wouldn't. No. Again, you're getting off the scope of the project. The scope of the project is Darius Miller.
And for $4,000, you would...
I don't have any problem with $4,000. I don't have any problem with Scott Mahaffey.
Right.
If you want to bring him on to help you with Darius Miller, great. But if you bring him on to go from one end of town to the other, no, I'm not for that.
Well, what I'm saying is Scott McCaffey has looked at some of the plans that Darius Miller committee came up with, some of the designs. He said they're very nice. We could offer a little bit of,
Again, why do we need an architect if the plans are okay? Why do we need to hire another architect to tell us that the plans are okay?
Why not hire one of the renowned architects to help refine that, who has a vested interest in this, and has also offered his services to the city to help you even more? Why not? That's my question.
If you want to hire him to do Darius Miller Park, I'm on board.
So you would pay him $4,000 to help with Darius Miller?
If that's what the committee wants, yes, I'm on
And-
board. But
and
you
then
hire him to do
Darius
the
would
entire
say
Main
no?
Street, no, absolutely
To
not.
help fund your streetscape, you wouldn't?
No.
But how are you gonna fund your streetscape?
Well, we're not going to fund it by these grants, I can tell you that right now.
What's the, again, the proof, Mr. Warren?
Did you look at this list of what the qualifications are? Some were $500. Residents 15 to 25 years old.
These grants are
You're
multifaceted.
nitpicking, I mean, really, there's a lot more to it.
The grants are multifaceted.
Yeah, I can tell you there's a lot more to it, or you don't qualify for half of them.
I'm not on the committee for Darius Miller Park, but I've heard enough, attending just one of the meetings. It gets back to the old joke of committee designing anything. I've heard some of the goofiest ideas about Darius Miller Park. Painting tractor tires, for crying out loud, for kids to play in. But I have to go back to the streetscape. Has anyone seen the condition of the light poles on North Main Street?
Yes.
Now, what's it gonna cost the city to recondition those?
They'd have to be sandblasted and everything.
Taken down, or perhaps done there? $40,000 this year, $40,000 next year. The whole idea is to have a park, and this is sacrilegious, but this nonsense about tourism dollars, show me the money. This is so abstract, it's ridiculous. Especially when you got half the stores on North Main that don't have continuous hours, or regular store hours. No, it's not the tourism dollars. Thank you.
Yeah, and, you know, I think tourism, when you speak to tourism, you know, what I talk about obviously is bringing people to town, and I think the ultimate realization of how well we're doing in bringing people to town is our sales tax dollars. And obviously, sales tax dollars increase on a year-to-year basis. You know you're bringing people to town, and you know that, well, in my mind, a lot of those people are tourists. And they're coming here because we have something that they want to see. And I have mentioned this before, that, you know, Princeton, there's no reason why Princeton can't be another Galena, another St. Charles, another Geneva. And I don't mean by that we imitate them, but that we're a destination on their level. There's no reason why we can't be that. And, you know, I mean, when I have a vision of Princeton, that's my vision. And this is one way of us getting there. And the other thing is, you know, if we can increase our sales tax dollars, obviously, that's going to help us take care of our crumbling infrastructure, because that's where the money, that's where we're lacking in funds. And we have sewers, we have streets that need to be repaired, and sewers that need to be replaced. And, you know, let's do something that, you know, in my mind, is going to bring people here, bring people to town, shop in our stores, increase our sales tax revenue, let's take care of some of these problems.
If I could, Mayor, you know, we all wear different hats during the week, and my hat as a realtor, I know that people come to Princeton and look at the possible community to retire to or relocate to, and they're looking at other communities. But they spend a lot of time looking at our downtown, they spend time looking at our hospital, our library, our schools, and we're quite proud of the things we have to offer. When people say to me, you know, why should I move here to Princeton, it's really easy to say. And I was counting up the other day, I've got 6 generations here in Princeton, and so we've stuck around a while. I think a few people want to kick me out tonight, but that's another story. But anyway, what I'd like to offer is this. As commissioners, we are paid a compensation of $6,000 a year. And, you know, I have enjoyed being a commissioner. I've got 11 more months, and this will probably be my final term. I want to only, I guess that we call it term limits. But I'm going to go ahead tonight and donate half that fee of $2,040. Whether Bob votes for it or not, I know that won't change his mind. But I will write a check tomorrow morning and pick up half the tab as my donation back. And if you can spot me till tomorrow morning, Rachel, you can trust me, or I can just check tonight. So I will, no matter how we vote, I'd like to contribute half of that fee to get this thing moving.
Cashier's check.
We can do that, probably come up with some cash if we need to, but no matter how the vote is, and I respect you other commissioners, Bob, I respect you, I've enjoyed sitting on the council with you, Laura, I respect you, but as from a realtor standpoint, I understand how important it is to keep our downtown looking vibrant. When we built a new building 3 years ago on Main Street, we tried to do some nice things with landscaping, and I don't want to start to toot my own horn, but I would say that I have a vested interest in Princeton, but I also would like to think that because my kids are here, my grandkids are here, I hope they all stick around, and so it's just a selfish matter. I'd like to go ahead and contribute half of this. So, again, how you vote or not, I'm going to contribute that, and I'll let this get on.
I think we have to keep trying. We have to always look for ways to make the city better. That's our responsibility, to bring these ideas to the people and let the community decide. I just don't think we should pass this up. It may be hard. We may have been disappointed in the past with projects that began and failed, but I think this is another one. This is one I think we should embrace, and we should make this small investment and give Mr. Mahaffey an opportunity to show us the way.
Rachel, you had mentioned a while back of employing a grant writer. Do you remember?
Yeah, so administrative consulting specialists, they actually helped us with our body camera grant for the police department and a few others, and they would likely, if we were to apply for somebody, to help with some of these as well.
And what are their fees?
They are typically depends on a percentage of if the grant's awarded.
So if it's awarded, they get paid. If it is not, they do not get paid.
Right.
Now, could we use them for these grants and continue with the 2003/last year's plan of Main Street?
I haven't looked, you're talking about the 2003 campaign. Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked at that. I think Scott wants to do updated, feasibility studies and provide a lot more information. I don't think in-house, we could potentially provide this to the current grant writers we were working with and see what they could do, but I don't think that they have the same skill set that Scott would have in the knowledge of our Main Street, because they haven't been to Princeton or seen it, and they aren't familiar with it. But we could potentially use them as a resource.
And just one more thing, the telltale sign on this, on whether or not this succeeds or not, we'll know fairly soon. And it will be because the community's not behind it. The steering committee, there's going to be 6 or 7 members of the steering committee. They're going to be responsible for going out and getting 8 or 9 people each to join in on this, on the planning that's going on, that is scheduled to take place in the first part of June. And if the numbers are there, and if the community's behind it, you're going to have a whole house. And that's going to be the telltale on whether this goes forward or not. But, any further discussion? We do have a, call roll.
Commissioner Warren?
No.
Commissioner Mabry?
Yes?
Commissioner Fabia?
No.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Mayor Querem?
Yes. And we still are with Commissioner Newman.
Thank you. Last item on my list tonight is the building permit report for April 2016. Under residential, we have one single family and some accessory uses that total $176,500. Commercial, we have a new structure, a permit for $1,220,000, which is the new Casey's property. So through April, we have 21 permits for a total value of $2,042,000. $2,042,000. Compared to a year ago, which was $566,000, and 2 years ago, it was $339,000. So it's clear to me that we are on an upward swing. We have momentum in Princeton, and we should keep it going. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Newman, and now we'll move to Commissioner Mabry.
Thank you, Mayor Querem. This evening, we have Resolution R-16003. It's an agreement for engineering services with Farnsworth Group for the Euclid Avenue reconstruction project. If I could, before we make a motion on that, we have some discussion to educate us as to what that's.
Sure, so I'll go ahead and give a brief discussion, but we also have Joe Adams here with us from Farnsworth, so if you have any questions for him, he'd be happy to answer those. So the amendment is for $80,000. $22,000 of that is for the additional design work for some of the some of the items we talked about probably a couple months ago at a council meeting, which was eliminating the multi-use bike path and reducing some of the sidewalks just to where they need to be replaced and meeting ADA requirements, and then also reducing the asphalt pavement thickness to kind of keep some of our costs down on that overall project. So that's what the $22,000 is for. The additional amount up to the $80,000 is for the temporary construction easement. That amount wasn't factored into the original price because we were hoping to just use the existing right away, but we're not able to. So that's where those temporary construction easements come from, and that's where that price increases. So if you have any questions, we'll come up and answer those.
Do you want to make the motion first, or not? Or do you want to wait? Joe, why don't you come on up? We'll just...
Yeah, I think if you have a motion and second, Mayor, then you can discuss the merits further.
Well, can we do that now without the motion?
I suppose the only idea of having the motion first is you know that you do have something to discuss.
Well, then let's have the motion.
That's what you're looking for,
Yeah.
Okay. And I would clarify that sometimes when a person makes a motion for something, and then they vote against it, I know it's confusing for the public, I've been questioned on that in the past. So, in other words, do you understand what I'm saying, Commissioners? Okay. So,
There's no reason you can't vote against it.
and I know that.
And you can also, within the motion, after the motion's made, you can make a motion to table the motion. Correct? No, in the motion.
That's always in order. It's not debatable.
I understand. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to make a motion that we approve the resolution R16-003 as written.
Second. Motion's been second. Discussion. Go ahead, Laura.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Says estimate total hours, $80,000. Can we, add a not to exceed, or when we reach that $80,000, then we will revisit?
For the rest of my two items, here with Farmers Group, my understanding with our contract is a cost to a maximum. So we would be capped at $80,000. Anything in excess of that, I'd be back here again.
I'm kind of curious, and I don't know if you know the history of this project, because we were with another engineering firm back in November of 2012 when they provided us their figure on what this project was going to cost. And at the time, that was $1.6 million. And then sometime between then and December of 2015, Farnsworth came in and replaced that first engineering firm. And then Farnsworth came to us with their figure, and it was $1 million more. It was about $2.6 million, approximately. And so that's a 3-year period. So I'm wondering, how do we get from $1.6 million to $2.6 million, $1 million in that period of time? What changed once Farnsworth came on board, if anything? I mean, what got us to that?
One component that I'm aware of that is different between those two figures is the reconstruction of Euclid on the southern 2 blocks. I believe that's central to Farnham. The original estimate would have just had a mill and overlay and trying to keep some of that existing curb and other infrastructure there. As we got into that design process, it was determined it was best to reconstruct those 2 blocks as well. That's a component of it. I can't speak to specifics associated with that original number as we weren't involved in that development. I can say that we put a pretty thorough cost estimate to this with about 50 different pay items, and we feel pretty comfortable with our number.
Well, you basically started from scratch to get to that 2.6.
Correct.
You came on board.
Yes.
All right. Now, so you're at $2.6 million in December of 2015, and then in March of 2016, just this past March, Farnsworth came to us with a new figure of $3 million, approximately $3 million. Is that correct?
I think the $3 million encompasses the engineering that was under the 2.6, I believe.
Well, and at that point that's when you went to work and looked at the project as far as if anything could be eliminated, and that's when we had a council meeting and we eliminated the bike path, we eliminated some of the sidewalk revisions, and we reduced the thickness of the asphalt.
That's correct.
Okay, so that was a savings of $400,000, and that got us back down to the $2.6 million we were at in December 2015 with those subtractions.